The State of the Nation with Zororo Makamba.
Zimbabwe, home to one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, the Victoria Falls. We have the rolling hills of the Eastern Highlands. In the west, we have the Motobo Hills. We have the Great Zimbabwe, and we have Kariba and Mana Pools up north. No doubt, we have some of the best tourist attractions on the planet. But here's the question, what more can we do? And what is being done? Let's talk about it in this week's State of the Nation. Zimbabwe's tourism has had some really good endorsements recently. Here's just a few of them. Bloomberg just named Zimbabwe on its list of the 24 best travel destinations for 2020. This Lonely Planet, one of the world's biggest travel guides, they placed us number 3 on a list of the 10 best countries to visit in 2019. There were many others, National Geographic, Brad Travel Guides, Harper's. We've had some good endorsements from celebrities too. Steve Harvey, Hollywood stars Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas. We just had 2 stars from the Empire TV show at the Vic Falls too. All good, but is this really enough? And what more can we do? And how can we make sure that Zimbabweans themselves enjoy the beauty of their own country? Tourism used to be one of the big foreign currency earners. In 2018, we saw our tourism starting to recover. We had 2.6 million visitors in 2018. That was more than the 2.4 million in 2017. But 2019 wasn't as good. In the first half of the year, we got 3% less tourists than the first half of 2018. Most tourists go to the Victoria Falls. We all love the falls, but look, isn't it time we mix it up a little bit? Surely our country is much more than Vic Falls. Think about this. Did you know that we have a beach in Binga? Have you seen the tea estates in the Eastern Highlands? Do you know that in other countries, people travel from all over the world to taste locally grown tea and coffee? How much do you know about the ancient rock paintings in the Motobo Hills? You've been to Rhodes's grave, but do you know where Mzilikazi's grave is? Oh, and did you know there's a dinosaur footprint in Zimbabwe? Yes, a dinosaur footprint. In Zimbabwe, you find it in the Chiwara area. True story. Now, we could do this all day, but the point is this. Our country has much more to offer than we realize. 60 to 70% of our tourism is wildlife-based. We'd like to see more being done to promote cultural tourism as a value addition alternative for Zimbabwe. The government is coming up with a new tourism master plan. That's good. We hope we can now start talking seriously about nation branding. We don't have one. We need it. And here's another thing we need to fix. Zimbabwe is too expensive. It costs less to tour Asia than Vic Falls. You know, tourists have many options. If we charge too much, they go somewhere else. We lose out. Here's an example. By November 2019, Cape Town had handled a total of 2.4 billion rand from film producers who came to shoot in the Western Cape. 2,265. That's the number of jobs they created. Now, Zimbabwe has great film locations. Our game parks are great for wildlife documentaries. These work really well for tourism, but we're not getting many film crews. Here's why. In Botswana, it costs you $100 per day to film in a game park there. In Zambia, $60. A filming permit is about $35 in Namibia. Here in Zim, it costs you $500 per day to shoot in our national parks. Shooting wildlife takes a long time. So if a guy wants to shoot for 2 weeks, they must pay $7,000 in Zimbabwe. Next door in Zambia, they pay only $840. In South Africa, you can bring in a film crew of over 100 people and 50 cars and pay just about $2,000. So where do you think all the film crew will go? It's a no-brainer, right? But what's missing to guide and regulate all of this is a national film policy that is separate and distinct from the media policy. And the absence of that will continue to be overlooked. On the issue of cost, our hotels are pricey. A hotel at Sun City will charge you 2,500 rand a night. At Vic Falls, you pay over 10,000 rand for the same kind of room. Why is this? Well, one reason has been our tax and license system. Look at this. If you want to operate a boat in Kariba, you pay $2,000 to the national parks. If you want to run a helicopter service in the Vic Falls, that's $22,500 per year. To run a hotel, well, you need the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority levy, then the ZBC license, then the Zimbabwe Music Rights Association levy. Then you have to pay the local council. Then there's also VAT. The good news is that under the Transitional Stabilization Program roadmap, these licenses are being streamlined, so you just need to pay one single license for this. This is an example of how we can cut red tape and make it easier for operators. There are many seeing the potential in tourism. They're investing. We're seeing new resorts going up in Vic Falls and elsewhere. Old Mutual are buying land in Vic Falls to build a new hotel. Africa Sun is spending $25 million in 2020 to fix up some new sites at Great Zimbabwe and Caribbean Bay. We're seeing a lot of new lodges going up in Vic Falls too. Now this shows that there are many people who are optimistic about Zim tourism. But what can we do to get a bigger slice of the cake? 19,428 Chinese tourists visited Zimbabwe in 2018. Kenya received 81,000 Chinese tourists in the same year. Between April and September last year, 72,882 Chinese travelers visited South Africa. 500,000 Chinese tourists visited Egypt in 2018. All these countries market their nations abroad. People won't visit Zimbabwe if they don't see, read, or hear about us. We'd like to see our tourism ministry working with our embassies to set up tourism desks abroad. I'd like to add that we need compelling and competitive holiday packages that bundle several tourist hotspots into one offering. Our local tour operators lose out to their South African counterparts as they have succeeded in better promoting and including the Vic Falls as part of their holiday packages. Imagine, there are many tourists today who visit South Africa and due to advertising think the falls are theirs. But you know what would be even better? When our own people enjoy these same spots. Right now, it's too expensive for many. Recently, under his 100 Days Action Plan framework, ED launched the Domestic Tourism Campaign. We need this to work. International tourism is great, we need it. But we need domestic tourism too. International tourism is super sensitive. Something happens in West Africa and tourists will decide not to travel to Zimbabwe. But our own people know better. If we help Zimbabweans travel more, we have a more sustainable industry. In South Africa, they ran a domestic marketing campaign a few years back. They called it Short-Lived. It pushed young South Africans to tour their country. They shared tips on budget accommodation. Our young people too would love to see their own country. They love road trips. They just can't afford them. This is why the Ministry of Tourism Domestic Tourism Campaign is looking at how we can price products for locals. That's a good start. Look, we can never run out of stuff to do for our locals. Look at Harare. The Kopi area can be great for a tourism site. There's a lot of history. You can look over the whole city from there. But we've turned it into a dump. What about tours of Mbare? What about local travel? It's been hard getting around the country. The good news is that last year there was a partnership between Air Zimbabwe and Mac Air from Botswana. You'll now be able to fly between places like Hwange, Kariba, and the Lowveld. The government is also finally opening up domestic tourism routes to other players. That's good news for tourism. In the 2020 budget, the finance minister extended rebates on duty for capital equipment imported by tourism operators. The government also extended the suspension of duty on buses used by tour operators. They can also now import vehicles they use for game viewing duty-free. Car hire companies can also import cars duty-free for the next 12 months. What we need now is more hard work on our brand. We need to deal with the stuff like the machete violence and all of that. Clean up our act. We also need our own people to be ambassadors of their own country. Zimbabwe's tourism has so much potential. Let's be smarter so we can fulfill that potential. The world knows that we are one of the best places to visit. It's time our own people knew that too.